Hey, Jonathan, how are you today?
Good, Misty. How are you?
Good. So today we're going to talk about the importance of our Christian faith and the mission of communicating that in media. So I'd love to hear
Mm,
your thoughts about that.
yeah, I think one of the things that Christian media uh, suffers from, I think, is essentially what comes down to what I feel is just this presented um, lack of authenticity in the way it tells its stories. What do I mean by that? So we've got a lot of projects, a lot of films, TV shows that have a fantastic message, but the way in which they communicate that message uh, ends up overtaking the message itself, which is not what anybody wants when you're doing, especially when you're doing Christian media. It's about the message, but if the way that you tell the story is so either ineffectual or inauthentic or poorly told, it's defeating its own purpose. Do you know what I mean? So, for instance, if you have a story about well, whatever. If you've got something where like the movie's about getting to know Christ on a deeper level, but then you populated with actors that are maybe not professionals, or they're not well trained, or whatever it is, and you're okay with letting certain things slide, or the script is not it's full of cliches, and it's full of these two-dimensional stereotypes of Christian people, um, uh, all for the sake of trying to get out the phrase, but you got to come to Jesus, just so you can have a character say that. You've turned off 90% of any non-Christian that you might want to actually have see the film, so that they can be affected by it. So like, if you're trying to evangelize, the people that you're trying to evangelize to are never going to even go. As soon as they open their mouth, they're like, this guy's full of it. There's no way I'm buying anything that this movie is selling, because I don't believe what they're selling. I don't believe in the characters. I don't believe in the presentation. I don't believe in in how they're trying to get me to do it, to come to this, to accept this message. And by doing it, but by doing it in that kind of a way, by not really focusing on essentially giving it God's excellence, giving it the standard by which you would want God to judge the piece, not just who's going to plunk down 15 bucks, who's our target audience that we know will buy tickets to go see this film, or will rent, in the era of COVID, like who's going to watch this on TV, like who do we know is really going to see this? And it doesn't matter. We can kind of skate around quality, because we know that this audience is just going to buy. Well, then you're not, if people that are coming at it with that kind of a mentality, they're not, first of all, they're not even doing God's work. Do you know what I mean? It's
Right.
like you're selling God short by just saying, yeah, we'll just half bake it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we have a,
And so,
I was going to say, we have a saying in our house that it's crappy Christian. So when we see the people trying to communicate a Christian message, but they don't put the money behind it, a low budget film, something along those lines. Because you're right, we're called to a spirit of excellence and to do things with excellence, whether it is in the screenwriting and the acting, in the money behind the film.
so people that have that know me from The Chosen and have seen The Chosen may not know this, but The Chosen as a series, it's a low budget series. Like, our budget for one episode, an hour-long episode, is like a little over $1 million. If you thought of that as a movie, let's call it 1.5 million, 1.75 million for a 90-minute film, right? That's excruciatingly low budget. That's so small. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's so, by today's standards, as far as production, that's tiny. There's nothing. And like, everybody's trying to, cut where they need to, and make it a real lean machine. But in my opinion, like the scripts didn't suffer because, you know, Dallas and his writers, they had a vision, they have a level of quality that they're trying to honor God with in this project, and they recognize, like, just like when you sit down and you watch a Netflix show or an HBO show, and a good one that you like there's a certain level of quality there that you can come to expect. So budget, low budget does not have to mean crappy, doesn't have to mean garbage. You know, some of the best independent films have been made on no money whatsoever. So
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. I was going
yeah,
to ask you about your faith in terms of other roles
sure.
that you play, and how does that go into roles that you accept or not, or do you have a challenge with accepting, like, what work walk me through that process.
um well, you know, since The Chosen, I mean, I've maybe had a handful of auditions in between because that's been keeping me fairly busy for the last year and a half, and then this year with COVID, obviously, that's a whole other conversation. But you know, it definitely, playing Christ informs you as a person, and as a Christian and a Catholic, like, and somebody that is devout and going to mass and having daily, a form of daily prayer in my life, and having a conversational, uh, relational aspect to how I communicate with Christ. Um, it, it can't help but change how you view pretty much everything in your life. So when it comes to auditioning for other projects. For instance, I did in March, I shot an episode of a show for NBC called Chicago Med. Um, I was I got cast to play a British heroin addict, and you know, on paper, as a Christian, I could immediately look and judge that character and be like, "Oh, I can't. He's a heroin addict. He's a bad person." Like, no, no, he's a person made in the image and likeness of God. So I have to approach any character from that point. That's my starting point for any character. And depending on how the writing is, and how the writing informs the audience about the nature of this character. Um, uh, if it's good, there'll be opportunities for me to be able to bring, um, maybe what's missing in that character's relationship with God somewhere on the screen, or at least at the very least, to my own inner life, and what I'm doing will inform his behavior, and how I'm thinking about who this person is and what he means to me, and what this person could be, like a broken person, maybe with, you know, who's using drugs as an escape, as a way to bridge the gap, or substitute any relationship he has with his creator, or any other, you know, meaningful consciousness in his life. Then that's something that I love to explore. But if a character is, you know, like that, he could very easily be written as two-dimensional, and not have any of that stuff, or be written, you know, even flatter than that, and be rife with cliches and things that really don't allow me to even, no matter what inner life I bring, if a character is written badly, it'll work against what I'm doing. And so I, you know, I, even before I kind of had this deeper conversion, or reversion, or somebody once referred to me as a born again Catholic, which I love. Um, uh, I always felt that, like, you know, there's got to be something interesting. There's got to be a story there. There's got to be an arc, whether it's on the paper or on the page or it isn't. There's got to be something there for me that I can really sink my teeth into, and latch onto as a human. You know, because that's what we have, their needs, and we have struggles, and we have our own personal arcs as human beings. So as long as I can find something in a character there, it's not my job to judge the character. You know.
Yeah, that's great. That leads me to another question. So, we are recording this for a podcast conference. So, we are talking to Christian podcasters. How can they
Cool.
take that story arc and apply it to their podcast? Or what wisdom would you give them to create something of excellence that is worth listening to?
I think starting with authenticity, um, and not coming from a place where that you you need to just get the message out at any cost, because people won't get to know God if you don't get the message out first. Like, no, like, what is your message? What do you have to say to people? What is your own conflict? Or what is, if you're doing stuff with guests, like, what is their conflict? Where's the drama? And it doesn't have to, be like, I just shot somebody a week ago and I just got out of jail, like, not, it doesn't have to be cataclysmic or anything crazy, but it's just like, what is the human struggle for, that person, or what they're going through, and to just be honest with people. And I find the more honest you can be, the more people want to tune in. They want to know how you manage and handle the struggles of life, because we're all trying to figure out how to get through it, together, while we're living on this rock together. So I'm a big fan of this concept of, unity through community, right? And so I was doing a prayer hour for on my social pages for 3 months, from the beginning of quarantine through Lent, um, leading up to Easter, and then beyond that. And uh, I would just, it was an opportunity to pray with people, and pray prayers that I knew, but to invite anybody. Leave your denominations at the door was my thing, and people from all different denominations would show up, and we would just anchor our prayers to Christ, and sort of, I would talk a little bit about what's going on, and just kind of be myself. And it grew into this thing, and the feedback I kept getting was that, it's just nice to see somebody being who they are, and not trying to be this other thing, or not trying to, I'm never trying to be a preacher. I'm not an ordained minister. I don't know, theology inside and out. I don't have a master's in divinity. But I'm passionate about God, and what I do for a living, and I feel that this is um where he's put me in life, and a mission that he's given me to do, and to communicate this love of him, and this responsibility of, especially at this particular time in history, to other people. And but that all starts with, being bold and being humble, and then sort of leading with love for humanity, and authenticity, especially when this is, where is it, authenticity coming out of true humility is will change your life. This is a book I've been sharing with people. It's called How to Be Somebody. It's a collection from the church fathers, uh, about humility. It goes through all the different saints' writings on humility, and humility needing to be, essentially the establishing virtue that a human needs to possess, by which all other virtues are attainable. If you don't have humility, then you're not open, your spirit's not open to anything or anyone, or any kind of interactions, or communications, or presence, the presence of Christ. So I think when you're starting with humility, then you're able to have open, genuine, and meaningful conversations, and then you get to, the arc of in a conversation, or in a piece, or on a topic, you can get to the arc of what actually is interesting about that particular topic, especially as a podcaster. So I think, yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but I think it kind of starts there.
Well, I think it was a great answer because what you may not know about me is that I wrote a Bible study called The Struggle is Real, but so is God,
Mm,
because we all have struggles, but
yeah.
God is there in the midst of the struggle. And what I do on my podcast is I talk to people about the struggle and
Mm,
what they struggle with, because we all have struggles, big, small. You know, right now in COVID, we're all struggling with something that we've never experienced before. But if
yeah.
we can have real conversations about that, and then I think that people know that they're not alone, and to know that God is
Yeah.
there with
Mhm.
us in the midst of the storm, whatever that storm may be. And so I'm so glad that you said that. Well, I
Yeah.
have really enjoyed getting to talk to you. I would just ask for you to just share like some final thoughts, and we'll close out there.
Sure. Um, I think that when we're serving God, if we're really trying to serve God, we got to give him our best. We can't we can't half bake it. We can't just sort of wing it. Um, I think everything that we do as media professionals has to be done with some thought, a lot of prayer, um, and a commitment to excellence. Uh, because if God was here on earth now and we had the opportunity to connect with him, I mean, would we not want to give him the best of us, you know? Uh, and he is here. He's here now. He's here with us in each other.
Yeah.
So we owe it to him and ourselves to strive for truly communicating excellence in everything we do, and especially as Dr. Scott Hahn said to me, as media apostles. Um, because right now the world needs our voices more than ever. The struggle is real, the enemy is real, and you see that. You see the spiritual battles taking place in the world. So it is so important for us to be mindful of that. And so when we're approaching whatever we do, but especially in our our um, our media apostolates, no matter what they are, whether it's as an actor or a podcaster, that just strive for that quality. Give it all that you've got every time, 150%, 1,000%, and he'll he'll reward that. You know, he'll see that, and the graces that come from serving God with all your soul, all your heart, all your mind are just are unfathomable.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. We appreciate you taking time out for us, and thank you very much.
My honor. Thank you so much, Misty.